Hi, this is Dr. Valerie Valencia. Thank you for joining us. Today I'm going to give a brief overview of effectiveness mapping, what it is, what types of companies can benefit from it, and what those benefits are. Effectiveness mapping helps businesses align brand promise with customer experience. Basically, we help you validate your effectiveness so that you can enhance your credibility and your customer's experience at the same time. So why do we care about aligning brand promise with customer experience? Because when they're not aligned, companies lose money. 48% of people who have negative experiences tell 10 or more people about it. On the other hand, companies that deliver what they promise, when they do align brand promise with customer experience, they make money and everybody's happy. Loyal customers tell people about their purchase and the company ends up making a lot more money. So the challenge is that companies only deliver on their brand promise half the time, according to a recent Gallup poll. Consumers are increasingly relying on the internet to help them make purchase decisions. They're out there trying to find out, will this product or service deliver what I'm looking for? Will it meet the need that I have? Will it solve my problem? The way consumers are finding this information now is by 5-star rating systems, reviews, testimonials. These are great, but they don't actually measure effectiveness. Did the product or service actually deliver what it promised? What they do is measure sentiment, a consumer's emotions in a moment of time when they filled out that testimonial or when they gave it that rating. They may give it a great rating, not because the product delivered, but because they had a great customer service experience or it arrived quickly. Or what's worse is they may give it a poor rating, not because the product didn't work great, but because they had a poor customer service or maybe it arrived late in shipping, who knows why. But not necessarily because the product didn't actually deliver what it promised. Another challenge with 5-star rating systems and testimonials is that, believe it or not, there's companies out there who will pay people to write them good reviews. They get all their family and friends to write good reviews, give them 5 stars. And also there's companies out there, believe it or not, that will pay people to give their competitors bad reviews. So I've personally had bad experiences. I've got duped once. There was a product, it was a tooth whitening product that had great reviews and I bought it and it turned out that it was a scam and they started charging $20 to my credit card every week. And it took me quite a while to get that straightened out. So while I want great testimonials to be there, I don't necessarily trust them. So another thing that businesses are doing is they're out there measuring customer satisfaction, customer loyalty with things like Net Promoter Score and 4C. And these things are a good indicator of effectiveness, but again, they don't directly measure effectiveness. Part of the problem with these is that these surveys pop up at us when we're online and I don't want to take them. I don't know if you guys like to take them, but for me, they're not a good use of my time. What's in it for me? And from the business's perspective, they get this data. For example, in Net Promoter Score, you get a score, and that score may go up or down over time, but it doesn't really give you the information you need to improve. My score is going down, so what do I need to do to improve? A lot of times when they're doing these surveys, they will ask the why question. Why did you give us that score? But now we have a bunch of textual information that we have to systematize and figure out, what exactly is it that we need to do to improve. It's not conducive. I think part of the problem here is that a lot of these measures, the sentiment and the actual effectiveness, did the product deliver what it promised, are combined, they're overlapped. And I think our goal is to try to separate these, separate the sentiment from the product or service effectiveness. The effectiveness will definitely influence the sentiment, as will other things, but the sentiment doesn't necessarily reflect on the effectiveness. So another way to try to get at effectiveness is with scientific studies, clinical trials. I show this picture because in my background, I have a PhD degree in laser physics, and I actually have spent many, many hours in laser labs just like this, tweaking lasers and doing experiments, double-blind, randomized, placebo-based with control groups. And it's very expensive and it's very time-consuming, but it is very objective, right? So on one edge of the effectiveness spectrum, we have these subjective measures: customer satisfaction surveys, 5-star ratings, testimonials. They're not necessarily completely trustworthy and credible, but they are fairly easy and don't take that much time to collect. On the other end of the spectrum, we have full-blown clinical trials, scientific studies, control groups, etc. And these are very objective, but they're also extremely expensive and time-consuming. So what we're looking to do here is bridge the gap, find a way to objectively measure subjective experiences. And I'll give you a little bit of the backstory here. I am a research scientist, but I'm also a health and fitness nut. And I have lots of friends who are in the natural health and wellness arena. And it occurred to me a couple of years ago that all my left brain rational scientist friends could really benefit from yoga, massage, acupuncture, etc. These sort of natural ways of being strong and healthy. And when I would mention it to them, they would say, well, show me the proof, show me the evidence, show me the double-blind, randomized clinical trial that proves that this is good. I said, well, those are very expensive. These folks don't have that, but they have great testimonials. To which my analytical scientist friends say, well, humbug, that's anecdotal data. So I thought, what could I do to bridge the gap? What could I do to give folks some evidence, some objective evidence that they really are delivering what they promise, but not costing an arm and a leg? So we came up with this protocol called effectiveness mapping. Effectiveness mapping was actually inspired from my last business. I founded and ran a business doing sensitive work for 3-letter US government agencies in the field of biometrics. The biometrics is being able to recognize you from your iris, your fingerprints, your face, etc. And what we did for them, it was in the early days of biometrics, and we brought people in and we measured their features, their biometric features, and then we would bring them back in 6 weeks, and then in 6 months, and in a year, to make sure that they're, not only that their biometric features were stable, but also that the devices that are measuring their features are stable. Hardware gets old, software changes. And this process of measuring over time is called longitudinal testing. So ding, 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 I got this idea. Why don't we apply longitudinal testing instead of to a person's biometric features over time? Let's measure a consumer's experience with a product or service over time. And specifically, let's measure their before-after experience with a product or service. So this concept of before-after is not new. It's been used to qualify effectiveness for a long time. But what we're suggesting is that we can quantify effectiveness by measuring these before-after experiences. So this effectiveness mapping protocol quantifies effectiveness in 4 simple but not necessarily easy steps. The first step is to ask the $64,000 question. And that question is, dun, 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 how does my product or service change my customer's life from my customer's perspective? In other words, since they're using my product, what's changing for them? What impact is my product having in their life? And the answer to that question defines what we call your effectiveness categories. The effectiveness categories are derived from your brand promise, your value proposition, maybe even your KPIs, but it's a different twist on that brand promise. So to give you an example, let's think about a Tesla. A Tesla is an electric car. I want one of these really bad. So if I were to ask Tesla this question, how does your product or service change your customer's life? What would they say? Well, it's an electric car, so they're saving fuel. It's good for the environment. There's less moving parts, so maintenance is probably easier. They're really fun to drive. I haven't driven one, but I've ridden in one, and it was really fun. And there may be like a little confidence, ego boost that comes along with it. So this is what we might define as the effectiveness categories for this Tesla car. Now, of course, we'd have to sit down and talk with Tesla and really make sure that that's what they felt were the changes that their consumers experienced when they became the brand new owners of a Tesla. But I think you get the idea. So this step one then is to define your effectiveness categories. And that is, how does your product or service change your customer's life? What changed in their life because they used your product? So as another quick example, I'll use one of our customers, Dr. Cottam. He's a chiropractor. And when I ask him the $64,000 question, he says, well, I reduce people's pain, I improve their quality of life, and I reduce their stress. So for his effectiveness categories, we came up with freedom from pain, quality of life, and stress-free. So the next step then is to develop 3 queries or statements in each of these categories such that your ideal customer will score low before they use your product or service and score high afterwards. This is really the crux of the protocol. This is codifying your brand promise. Here's the changes that I think that my product will create for you. So as an example for Dr. Cottam, he had 3 categories. We have 3 queries in each of these categories. His ideal customer, if they're presented the statement, I can freely turn my neck, bend, and move my back. If they're an ideal customer for him, they're probably going to disagree strongly with that. And after they've seen him for, I don't know, 6 sessions, 2 months, whatever the appropriate protocol is for that customer, then they would strongly agree because he delivered what he promised. Now, not everybody, ideally, we would want everyone to strongly disagree before and strongly agree after. In reality, that doesn't happen. Typically, we're getting some shift from the low scores to the high scores. And in some cases, we ask reverse questions. I feel pain, numbness, or tingling down my arms or legs. Well, that's something that you would strongly agree with before and strongly disagree afterwards. So now we have to deliver this to the customer. And what we've developed is a concept called a Corby, which is a cross between a quiz and a survey. So from the consumer's perspective, it's a quiz. They get to respond to the queries, they get to see their results in real time, and they get some feedback based on their result. From the business's perspective, we're capturing some really powerful information for them. So for them, it's really as good as survey results. So why do we do it? Why do we use a quiz? Basically because people like quizzes. Quizzer did some research earlier this year and found that 82% of people that see a quiz on their newsfeed will actually click on it and take it. And what this means is that people are probably more likely to take a quiz than a survey. They're faster, they're cheaper, they're more effective than many other types of content. And so why is that? You know, we hated taking quizzes when we were in school. Why is it so intriguing now? Why are they so irresistible? Well, I think the reality is because they're engaging, they're nourishing, and they're all about me. because, quite frankly, stop telling me interesting, useful things about myself. Said no one ever, right? Everybody loves to learn things about themselves. So that's why quizzes are so popular. So then step 3 then is to incentivize our consumer to take the Corby before they interact with a product or service, and then again afterwards. So when they take it before, they get to see their before scores. That's these yellow bars here. If the business wants to, they can also show scores for their existing customers. Again, this is codifying the brand promise. I'm promising you that if you score, however you score in these areas, when you use my product, your scores are going to increase. And by the way, here's the scores that my existing customers have. Then we ask have the consumer experience the product or service, and then we invite them, typically via an email, to take that same exact assessment again, and now they get to see their before and after scores. So they get a real visual, tangible experience. Yes, this really did improve my quality of life in these areas. What I've shown there is what the consumer sees. The business gets all that, but the business also gets the collective or the aggregate data. So this is not big data. This is smart data, smart targeted data. So the business can use this information to inform their business making decisions. For example, let's see, on this one we can see that I didn't score quite as high on sleep quality as I did in my other categories. So this tells me as the business owner, maybe I need to up my game here. I'm not getting as much change there as I anticipated. It may also tell me, you know what, I'm getting such great performance in these other areas, maybe I'm just going to stop talking about sleep quality and stop including that in my brand promise. Again, it's up to the business, but this is powerful information for them. Another example here, let's say if they were finding that on whole, most of their customers were scoring pretty high in sleep quality, well, then that's not a problem that their customer base has, and it's not a problem that they need to address. Also, depending on how you score, you're going to want to share those results, whether you share them on social media, whether you share for a particular category or for your overall score. Publishing your stellar rating, this allows you to differentiate from your competitors. You can share this on Google, Amazon, Angie's List, Yelp, etc. So just to dig a little more deeper into the business intelligence or customer intelligence results, because this is the real value for the business. There's a lot of different marketing and PR messages you can take out of your data. Everybody's data is going to look different. This is some exemplar data. The red bars are the before, the green bars are right after a training, and the blue bars are 2 months after that training. So we can offer our customers to take this assessment as often as makes sense throughout an experience, and maybe even up to a year or 2 years later to see how they're doing. So in this case, we can see that we got a big change in all of our categories. Great, our product works. And in category 2, they maxed out. So this is something we probably want to share. And we see that in category 1, we didn't get as much change as we did in the other categories. So that's an area for us to note we need to improve in that area. Another way of looking at the data is just by looking at the changes. And here again, we can see what some of the take-homes here. The changes that our customers experienced continued to get better, that stuck in these first 3 categories. But in this 4th category, over time, after 2 months, they didn't get as much benefit. So this is something for us to take home and say, what's going on there? What do we need to do to fix that? On average, the customer's lives improved by 68% overall, which is great. And there's one other way that I like to look at the data, and that's in histogram format. It almost is always bimodal. There's typically a lot of people up here and then a few people down here. Bimodal meaning it has two humps, if you will, like a camel. And there's a lot of different things we can, a lot of different ways we can use a histogram. For example, this person here who scored here, who is that, or these people? Let's go explore them. Let's go look in a little more detail and see what happened with these folks, so we can make sure that in the future we can move them up to the top. We can look at our top 3 categories here, top 3 score bins. The 20 plus 14 plus 6, that's 40. So 40% of our customers experienced an 80% or better improvement. That's a great soundbite. I think an even better soundbite is if we ignore the bottom 4%, 96% of our customers improved their quality of life by 50% or more. So again, your gas mileage may vary. Everybody's results are different, but everybody's getting some really valuable information from their results. We've implemented in 3 different verticals so far: health and wellness, professional services, coaching, training, and education. And I'm going to show you some results from one of our folks here. Let's see if I can do this gracefully. So I have the names and email addresses of the customers who took this initial launch assess quiz, Corby, blocked out. Hopefully you can't see that to protect the innocent, but this is an example of what the business gets. This was a launch to their existing customers, so we could make sure that they were scoring well and make sure that we have everything dialed in and that they actually are delivering to their current customers what they believe they are. So we get the person's name, email address, and by the way, if you use our platform, we write this information, the blocked out information, to your CRM automatically, so you've got them in your funnel. We see how everybody scores in the different, for each query and in each category, so we can go and see where are our problems here. We can see, for example, in this one, this particular query, people were scoring low, so we've actually gone and changed that up a little bit moving forward to make sure that we're capturing the actual value that we provide. They thought they were providing that value, but obviously their customers disagree. We can also look at it from an individual perspective: who's scoring low, who's scoring high. And again, we see those here on the histogram. So these people who are scoring low here, we can go and find out, what's going on, where did they score low, how could we do better with these folks. And of course, we get to see in each category how they're doing. The other thing that I haven't mentioned with our platform is that we can also ask multiple choice questions, open-ended questions, and checkbox questions. So we try not to ask too many questions, because if you've got 3 categories and 3 queries, that's 9 questions. And quite frankly, people don't want to click too many times. So typically we might ask 1 or 2 more questions. For example, some people like to ask the Net Promoter Score question here. How likely are you to recommend my product to a friend? But they had some particular information that they wanted to know here. And that helps them interpret their results. What I haven't shown here is their before-after results. Most of our clients are fairly sensitive to their before-after results, but they typically are lower. The befores are lower, and the highs are after if they're delivering what they promise. So let's go back to our presentation here. So the types of businesses that can benefit from effectiveness marketing are offering a product or service that creates a measurable change or provides a measurable benefit in the life of the customer. So what do I mean by that? The example I like to give is the wristwatch example. If I get a new watch, how did that change my life? What value did it provide to me? Well, I used to look at my wrist and not see the time, and now I do, but that's not really, earth-shattering. However, if I got a new smartwatch, now that's rocking my world. That's creating some change that we can measure. So effectiveness mapping is really not for commodities. It's for products that really impact the consumer's life in some measurable way. The other types of businesses that benefit are those that want to prove it. They want to prove that impact, that their value proposition is actually being experienced by their customer. Because by proving that and offering that proof up to future customers, they can sell more. Or they really want to improve, they really care. They want to not only get more customers, but improve their product while they're at it. The types of companies examples of these types of companies include health and wellness providers, both products and services, trainers, coaches, educational institutions, online training, educational resource providers, and nonprofit organizations as well. This is certainly not an inclusive list, but here, this is just to give you an idea of the types of businesses that could really benefit from effectiveness marketing. And the types of businesses that are attracted to business marketing are customer-centric. They care about their customer. They're probably out there routinely gathering customer success data, customer experience data. They're probably measuring Net Promoter Score or surveying their clients or trying to engage them with forms and quizzes and other engagement tools. They probably care a lot about churn. If they're losing customers, they're trying to figure out why. They want to differentiate, stand out from their competitors. No doubt they use a CRM and some kind of automated marketing software. If the company isn't to the level of sophistication where they're using that, they're probably not a good match for us because we populate their CRM and use the automated marketing software to invite people to take the after queries. And they probably have customers that will respond to email. One of our customers gave a training to a particular group of people that didn't like email. And so we had a very hard time getting those folks to respond to we got them to take the pre by doing it during the onboarding process. But the post, we just had to, it was like pulling teeth because they just weren't email savvy. They didn't like email. So, and I guess in general, the types of businesses that want to do effectiveness mapping are seeking to optimize their buyer's journey. They care about their buyer. So the benefits they receive are many. If they use our platform, you can go do this on your own. You don't have to use Stellar. But if you do use Stellar, what you get is the objective third-party validation. It's not just you saying that you deliver, it's us because we've measured it for you. And that really gives you the evidence you need to differentiate from your competitors. We also get this methodology, this protocol also gives the consumer a really authentic, interactive, rewarding experience. They get to express themselves and learn something about themselves. I haven't shown you our platform because this isn't a sales call. This isn't a sales presentation. This is an informative presentation. But in our platform, when people take it and they get to see some really interesting results, we work with the business to say, okay, based on how people score, what do we want to tell them that will enhance their lives? And so if anybody would like to see that, I'm happy to show that to you offline, a demo of our platform. And also, I think one of the most important differentiators for effectiveness mapping is that you're able to figure out why people are happy with your solution, what you can do to make it better, and use that customer intelligence to make better decisions and to fine-tune your marketing and your branding message. Another thing that we do on our platform is if a consumer didn't have a good before-after experience, we send an urgent email to the business so they know, oops, we have a potential unhappy customer here. We call it an unhappy customer early warning system, so that they can reach out and try to make it right with that consumer before they go out and publish negative reviews online. I like to say that we help you manage your online reputation before you have to hire a reputation management specialist or try to push negative reviews down on the stack. Because if we're using the tool correctly, you shouldn't get any negative reviews. Some people use the system as an automated lead gen tool. So while a lot of our customers use it during the onboarding process, we've sold a product, now we're going to ask people to engage with this on a baseline before they experience our product. Some people actually use it, they send it out there as a demand generation tool. Take this assessment, you see what our brand promise is. If this resonates with you, click on the call to action and buy the product. And then finally, all of these things point to growing your brand, getting more customers. This transparency and trust that is built with this type of platform where consumers get to see their actual result really builds a loyal tribe. And they share with all their friends, and so then the business gets to share the benefits of their product with more people. And that kind of brings us to why we do this. Our mission, yes, is to help businesses align their brand promise with their customer experience. But our vision is to connect end consumers with validated products and services that enhance their life. And we like to work with businesses who are also in that same mode. You have a product or service that helps people, and we want to help you help more people. A lot of times people ask, how is effectiveness mapping or how is a Corby different than SurveyMonkey, for example? Well, it's different in two ways. Surveys and CSAT, or customer satisfaction measures, are really of value to the business. They're not really providing any value to the consumer. Quizzes do offer value to the consumer, and our Corbies offer tremendous value to the consumer. Is this the right product for me? Is it delivering over time? Did it deliver the value that it promised? And on the other axis, these other measures really are measuring a point in time. And what we do is we measure the change. First derivative, if you want to remember back from math, we're measuring the slope. We're measuring the change. And that change that a consumer experiences with a product or service correlates with the effectiveness of the product that it actually delivered. So in closing, I'd like to just leave you with some things to think about. Effectiveness mapping, there's two things to think about. One of them is that $64,000 question. How does my product or service impact or change my customer's life from their perspective? What change did they experience because they used my product? And the second question is, how do we measure that change? From a before-after perspective, what are those queries I can ask them that will reveal whether or not I'm delivering on my brand promise? So as a special offer for those of you who are listening to this webinar, going through this process of answering these two questions is what we do with our new clients. I've got a special offer. I'm willing to spend an hour with your business to help you define what are these effectiveness categories and what are these queries. I've never offered this before. This is strictly, we have a process that we go through with our clients. But I'm so excited about effectiveness mapping, and I'm so anxious to get it out there into the world and have people use it, that we have a special one-time offer, $47 for an hour, where we'll sit down and we'll actually dig in with you and help you define these for yourself that you can then use moving forward in your own business. So we'll do it with an online Zoom meeting, much like we did here. And if you'd like to take advantage of this offer, please just send an email to webinaroffer@stellar-research.com. And this offer is good through the end of November 2015. Finally, if you'd like to contact me, here's my email address, phone number for the company. You can get more information about us at our website. And if you'd like to experience one of our Corbies, you can take ours. There's a link to it right on our webpage. This is the Corby that we've designed for Stellar Research because, of course, we have to use our own technology. And it's what we have people take before they're our customer, and then again after they've experienced our product for a period of time. Did we deliver what we promised? Feel free to connect on Facebook, Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. And if you'd like to schedule a demo to actually see the platform, you can follow this link right here, stellar-research.com/book-stellar-demo, and that'll take you to a place where you can schedule a demo. Thank you so much. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has, and thanks for your time.